Da-dum, ba-da-da-da-dum, ba-bum, ba-dum, ba-ba-ba-bum, bum, ba-bum, 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 bum, ba-ba-bum, bum, ba-ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-bum, bum, ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-bum, bum, ba-ba. Hi, folks. Welcome to another edition of the Omnist Hour. Crank down the music a little bit more. It might get kind of loud. Welcome to another segment. I hope you like the little intro music. I had a tune in my head and I didn't know what it was called. And if I did, I probably wouldn't be able to find a royalty-free version that wouldn't get my content labeled with copyright violation. So I just improvised it. Today's segment, actually, I gave the art AI the title of, and it produced what you see behind it. We're going to call this one the Three Billy Goats Karma, a cult Marxist fairy tale from the age of Aries. Okay, so let's give you a brief overview of what I've got in mind here. Hopefully it will be tantalizing enough for you to follow on to the conclusion of this. Most of you in your childhood, in at least my culture, English-speaking culture, have had a story read to them called the Three Billy Goats Gruff. Very popular fairy tale. I'm not sure where it originates, whether it was originally an Aesop fable or some other spinner of fairy tales. Why did I butcher the name like that? Well, I'm going to tell you this story like our children hear it, and then I'm going to basically tell you the propaganda behind it. What is being told to our kids through this story? And you can judge for yourself whether it's good or bad or indifferent. I think you will see, like most propaganda, it's dual-use technology. Okay, so, and it also ties into some modern-day figures, which I think will explain why I changed the name a little bit. Those of you who've caught some of my other content or follow me online know that I refer to our illustrious original founder of Microsoft as Bull Goats, rather than his common appellation of Bill Gates. And this episode is going to go into some detail why I think that's an appropriate appellation for that particular soul. Okay, let's start with the original fairy tale. So, once upon a time, I'm going to tell it like the kids hear it. Now, bear with me. Some people may not have heard this before. You may not have heard this version because, as you know, if you've been reading fairy tales to your kids, they change over time. The propaganda messages change. Here's the way I just heard it most recently. A little bit different than I've heard it before, but I can kind of see how this version works. Okay, once upon a time, there were three Billy Goats Gruff. Three male goats. There was a big one, and a medium one, and a little one. So we've got a little bit of the Goldilocks trinity here too, like the three bears. Okay, these billy goats lived on one side of a river and ate the grass there. Had a good time eating up all the grass till they had eaten all the grass and they were hungry and there was no more grass on their side of the river. Looked across the other side of the river. Ooh, lots of lush grass. Oh boy, let's go eat that. But the river was wide and deep, and the only place they could cross was the bridge. But under the bridge lived the troll. So, the Three Billy Goats Gruff talked it over amongst themselves, and nobody wanted to go face the troll. So the littlest goat says, well, you know, I'm so hungry that I just gotta go have some of that grass. I'm gonna figure out some way to get past that troll. So the little goat goes to the bridge, starts crossing it, and of course the troll comes up and says, well, I'm gonna eat you. You can't cross my bridge. And the little Billy Goat says, well, don't eat me, Mr. Troll. I have two bigger brothers, and they have much more meat on them. If you let me cross, that will give them the courage to cross, and you can catch both of them and eat them up. If you just let me cross, that's how you fool them. And the troll thought it over a bit, and yeah, you do look kind of scrawny. Thanks for the good idea. And the little Billy Goat crosses, starts eating the grass, and waves to his brother to say, hey, it's great over here, come on over. So then the two other Billy Goats look at each other and say, well, our little brother has played tricks on us before, you know. He might be playing one now. So which of us is going to go next? And the middle Billy Goat said, well, I am just so hungry at this point. I don't care. I'm going to go over and see if I can manage to get past this troll like little brother did. So the middle Billy Goat goes over the bridge and says, the troll jumps up and says, I'm going to eat you. Ah. And the middle Billy Goat says, whoa, now don't eat me. I'm a little bit bigger than my little brother you let pass, but gosh, there's our big brother back there, and there's a lot of meat on him. You could feed for a long time. If you eat me, he's going to be too scared to cross. The troll thought about it a little bit, and yeah, that's a good idea. Same idea your little brother had, actually. That's pretty smart thinking. You can pass. So the middle Billy Goat gets across, starts chewing on the grass, and waves to his big brother and says, hey, come on over, it's beautiful here. Well, the big Billy Goat at this point is saying, you know, what the heck, I might as well give it a try. At least I'm the big one. I can maybe fight that troll. So he saunters on over, starts crossing the bridge, and of course the troll jumps up and says, I'm going to eat you. And the big Billy Goat thinks, well, okay, I'm going to have to fight this one. Nobody left behind me to make any kind of a story about how it would be good to let me across. Might serve your purpose, so he fights the troll. Uses his big horns to butt the troll and knocks him into the river, and the troll drowns. And the big Billy Goat goes over and starts eating the grass, and they all live, quote, happily ever after. Okay, well, that's a cute little story. What does it teach our children? Well, it teaches them a number of things. If you run out of food, you can go steal it from somebody else. Go trick them out of it. If you can convince yourself that they're all a bunch of trolls and they don't deserve the food. Well, that's sold a lot of people on a lot of wars in the history of this species, hasn't it? It teaches them that it's okay to eat up all the resources. You can always find somewhere else to conquer and take their resources. Very, very much an endorsement of imperialism, if I ever heard one. It also teaches them the art of infiltration. Well, if we go attack with our army, they're going to fight us back and we might lose. if we infiltrate, send over the small fry, weaken the enemy with subterfuge, with narratives that destroy their power, make them uncertain, then it becomes easier for us to conquer them once we have our team on the other side. Yes, so this is indeed a cult Marxist tale. It's a very wonderful one because it can be adapted to any oppressor-oppressed narrative. The poor billy goats have no more grass to eat. They're so hungry, and the troll has so much grass. Oh, we have to defeat the troll. And it's a noble thing to do because we can't let the poor billy goats starve. Not mentioning that maybe they shouldn't have eaten all the grass in the first place. They should have tended it and eaten it judiciously. Let some grow back before they destroyed the rootstock, kept it from growing back. And if you've ever managed animals before, you know that you have to make sure to do that because they're not going to think about that. They're dumb beasts. They think about filling their belly. And when they're hungry, they find a way to eat. This is the mark of a beast. Now, the poor troll, now what did he ever do wrong? He just wanted to protect his border. He was the border guard. That was his job, to stop people from coming and eating the grass of his country. Why does he get to be the bad guy in this story? One wonders. Now you see where this is leading up to. This story is age old. And interesting thing about it, why a billy goat? Why not a bull? The three bulls gruff. The three lions gruff. Why billy goats? Well, I'm going to tell you why. It's because this story was made up during the age of Aries, the zodiac sign of the ram or sheep. It's an interesting thing. I'm going to tell you why I did this one today, because tomorrow's special event, special podcast, is going to tell you in detail what the zodiac is really all about, what the precession of the equinoxes is really all about, why it is so important to our species, and why we spend so much time tracking it and tracking astrology. It's going to be an interesting one, so I'd encourage you to come back for that one. So, how does this tie in to where we are today? Well, imagine that let's talk about three of the ages that are the most recent ones. Now we have the age of Taurus, the age of Aries, and the age of Pisces. And we are now entering the age of Aquarius. I'm not going to talk about Aquarius till tomorrow. I'm just going to talk about the other three. The age of Taurus happened to have been when pantheism was the primary religious belief, whether it was the Hindu pantheon, the Greek pantheon, the Egyptian pantheon, or any of a number of other cultures. The idea was that there were many gods, and you choose the god that you felt supported you the best based upon what their specialty was. Whether it was the god that protected your city, or the god or goddess that protected your particular job. The god of baking or hunting or metal working, etc. And that was basically what most of religion was about during the age of Taurus. And during the age of Aries, this is when monotheism took root. This is when the Torah was written. This is when the story of the 12 tribes of Israel was devised. This is when the Akhenaten ruled in Egypt and tried to change Egypt into a monotheistic believing country. Didn't have much success. The priest didn't like what he was doing, and his dynasty died out. His son, Tutankhamun, King Tut, was kept around and got to be king, got to be pharaoh for a while, but actually had to change his name. He was originally named Tutankhaten by his parents and had to change the last part to Amun because that was a signal that you followed the polytheistic cult of the moon instead of the monotheistic cult of the sun. And yes, all of the early monotheistic religions were sun worshiping. This is why you see the late Greek era, the late Roman era, become one of sun worshiping. That's why the Colossus of Rhodes, that depiction of Apollo, is Apollo as the sun. And this is when Apollo becomes the one god of the sciences and arts, with his helpers, the Muses, which is another polytheistic cult. Maybe one that's more scientifically rooted than the monotheist cults that grew out of it, that sort of said, well, we don't need these muses, we don't need all these helpers, or let's rename them angels and saints, and that will make them all a little bit easier to manage for a central power, which is basically what this was all about. It was a shift in power from distributed to very centralized. This was when the idea of one world religion, one world government took root and became a very strong meme through a number of people who decided, you know what, if I could make my God the one God and win all the battles, then we could fulfill some prophecy or something like that. We can make self-fulfilling prophecies. Because when you don't believe anything, you only believe in power, you can make up anything you want and use it to control and manipulate and motivate people. Now, it always works best if you start with something that the people already believe and you just change it a little bit to suit your particular agenda for achieving world power. Okay, so the age of Aries was the age where world domination became a meme, a theme for the elite all around the world. Now, why did that happen? Well, I suppose it's because they started having wars and fighting with each other and finding that the other sides were spreading their gods, their religion, and using them to undermine our religion. And this is basically how religious wars work, right? You're trying to take over another power base, motivating people with religion or anti-religion or belief system that acts like a religion but isn't called a religion, which is basically what we're seeing today. The globalist folks across the globe have come up with this idea of a non-religion religion, and they are pushing it very heavily. They have been for quite some time. Behind the scenes and now more openly through the World Economic Forum and the influence that they exert on the whole world. Now, they are aided in this by other countries like China, who have already gotten control of the vertical and horizontal the way that the World Economic Forum wants to get control of the whole world. And China actually has been a very close ally of the World Economic Forum ever since Kissinger made that dirty deal with Mao that opened up China to Western investment and started China on their road to becoming part of the normal world. Well, what in fact has happened is the normal world has been bastardized by China. And this isn't just China, it actually started earlier than that. It's been going on a long time. In fact, this effort goes all the way back to the beginning of the age of Pisces. The fish. The age of Pisces is the age of Christianity. It's also the age of Buddhism. It's also the age of Confucianism. It's also the age of Taoism and Islam. All of the major world religions that still practice widely originated during this time of Pisces. And all of those religions are a cult Marxist version of previous religions. Even Hinduism has become a cult Marxist religion. Much that was known has been de-emphasized. You can find it in the Vedas if you look for it. But the current beliefs with the Hindu world are very much geared around things like Christmas, Diwali, big celebration. Let's give gifts. Let's all blah, 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 blah. Happy, happy, happy. Krishna's going to come again, blah, blah, blah. Cult Marxism. Cult Marxism has basically two goals. It's to convince people that they are the chosen ones if they follow their leadership to victory, and also to convince them that anybody that doesn't believe the way they do, doesn't have the same nationality, doesn't have the same skin color, doesn't have the same ethnicity, doesn't belong to the same party, is a troll that must be destroyed so we can get them out from under that bridge and go take what's ours. And this pretty much in a nutshell explains what's going on right now in our species. We are at the culmination of this age of Pisces, heading into the age of Aquarius. We have basically gone to end state cult Marxism. under the rule of basically a bunch of mafia families that control all the real wealth, all the real power. And they use that power to manipulate anyone that they need to get them to do what they want. The leadership of Communist China is a bunch of mafia families. They have come to be dominated by exactly the same families that ran the Chinese mafia, the Tongs, the Triads, before the advent of the Chinese Communist Party. It's not about the party. I mean, communism is just a convenient clothing for totalitarianism. Fascism is a convenient clothing for totalitarianism. Okay? The Nazis were cut from the same stamp as the Bolsheviks, as the Chinese communists, as the neo-fascist globalists are, who sometimes put on communist clothing when they want to appeal to the little guy and convince them that they're really got their best interests in mind. Oh, the technology we're building is going to be so good for everybody. You will own nothing and be happy. And sometimes they put on their fascist hat and they say, well, you can't have it because, we have limited resources. Oh, we've got to limit your carbon because carbon is going to kill us. Pardon me? Were you not aware that carbon was an essential thing to life? This planet would have no life on it if it wasn't there for carbon. The planet is a living system. It adjusts itself. When there's too much carbon dioxide in the air, then systems adjust to that to balance it out. Sea levels rise and fall, yes. The truth is that sea levels have been much higher than they are now and much lower than they are now. And in fact, sea levels are probably going to go down long term because the big cycles, we're in a warm cycle. If it weren't for humanity, we'd already be in a warm cycle. We're just making it a bit warmer. Okay, that's not a good thing, but the truth is that most of our history we've been in colder cycles. We came out of an ice age about 12,000 years ago, and we had a mini ice age in the Middle Ages. And that was pretty devastating to much of the world, to the Northern Hemisphere. That's the reason, this mini ice age is the reason that we don't find Norse settlers in Greenland. Greenland had to be resettled, or mostly resettled. It's the reason that the settlements of the Vikings, the Norse, in North America disappeared, because their lifeline to the old country was basically cut off, because the old country was suffering in an ice age, suffering under the Black Death, another plague. These folks that think they control humanity, that think, oh, we're going to make them all one, make them all eat the same dog food, and then everything will be perfect because we're so intelligent. We've got 5 degrees from Harvard, and we've been selected to be on the board of directors by so many companies. We must know. We must be the ones who know. No. And it's very obvious that you aren't, because over the last 100 years, especially after World War II, when there haven't been any major wars, there have been little proxy wars, little skirmishes between different factions of the globalist elite, mostly designed to keep the market good for arms and construction companies and all of the great, wonderful GDP that comes out of destroying things and having to rebuild them. The same basic groups of people have been in charge for many generations. Yeah, they let new blood in. If you invent some new technology and you agree to use it for the benefit of the elite, become part of the private club, go to the exclusive events held in New York City or Hollywood or elsewhere. Oh, they'll let you into the club, and then you become part of the gang, part of the squad, part of the squid. This game's been going on for a long time, and I think you need to reread some of your fairy tales and see how they've been changing, how they're being used to manipulate and control minds from a very young age. And start talking to your kids about the propaganda they're getting. Start helping them think outside the box. Why was this story told this way? Why is it 3 billy goats? Why not 2? Why not 5? What's special about 3? Get your kids talking about what a trinity is. What's special about the pattern of 3? What can you learn from it? What other patterns can you see that come in 3s? What patterns come in 2s? What kind of propaganda is generated around 1 or 0? These are very spiritual questions that you should discuss with your kids if you have any concern for them not being programmed by an agenda that they don't understand. So deeply programmed that they will operate under that agenda for possibly the rest of their lives, chewing up whatever grass they're fed and going after the grass that they're told is greener. I think that's just about enough for this session. I hope you enjoy this. If you enjoy this way of exploring, you might want to go back and look at some of my other content. I have a segment that's about the Little Red Riding Hood story. I think I've done one about the other fairy tales. You'll see in the titles and stuff like that. You can learn a lot from the stories of our culture. This is why those stories are important and why they are under assault by cult Marxists. Here's a good time maybe to mention one of the great authors, children's authors of my childhood, the post-war, post-World War II American milieu, culture, which wasn't perfect. Absolutely, there was elitist stuff going in. There always is. There were people that wanted to profiteer from the U.S. ending up on top after World War II. For the most part, at least the first couple of decades after World War II, pretty noble things were done. The rebuilding of Japan, the rebuilding of Germany, kickstarting those economies from basically being bombed to the ground. And, people will tell you, oh, that was so horrible. The U.S. didn't have to do that. The U.S. was trying to absolutely destroy the Japanese people and the German people, blah, 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 blah. Well, let me tell you, if you are ruled by a dictator or an oligarch, a dictatorial oligarchy, a totalitarian regime, and you refuse to surrender when you're beaten, what is left for a country to do that knows that unless they change that regime, they're going to keep doing it, doing the same things? The truth is that Germany would not surrender. Did not surrender until after Hitler's bunker was destroyed. And Hitler either ran away to South America or was killed. There's some doubt about that. The war in the Pacific didn't end until atomic bombs were dropped. And there was an ultimatum that said, every city is going to face this unless you just surrender. This was a humanitarian act. It saved as many Japanese as it did Allied soldiers. It was not a craven act. It was an act, a well-considered act of humanitarianism. Yet you are being told lies, cult Marxist lies today, that America and the Allies were imperialist dogs trying to control the world. What a fucking bullshit piece of shit nonsense. Yes, there are those people doing that now. That is not the folks that were the Americans, that were the Allies. That's the same folks that propped up the Nazis, that propped up the Bolsheviks, that encouraged communist China, that has been building this globalist monster that wants to destroy every country and turn it into a slave state to the World Economic Forum, who actually are the ones that run the UN as a puppet organization. And what's happening right now since the pandemic is that alliance of globalist dictators, dictator wannabes, is crumbling. And that happens every time. One of them looks like they're gonna emerge as the new godfather, the new godmother, the new supreme power. All the others gang up on them. And we have another big war, another horrible, painful period, and then out of the chaos and dust emerges some new order. I would encourage you to consider whether it might be better to fix the American world order. Get all the globalist bastards out of Congress. Get all the globalist bastards out of the Senate. Impeach the bastard, the globalist bastard that is the president right now. Don't elect another bastard like Trump again, who is part of that class. Let's get some new leadership that really knows what America stands for and sticks by it. That's why I think the ticket for 2024 is DeSantis Gabbard. The best that the Republicans have to offer, the bravest, the one who, against all odds, made the best of the pandemic for his state based upon real science, tough decisions that weren't necessarily popular, but they were the right ones, and the best that the Democrats have to offer, because the only good Democrat is somebody that's left that fucking party. It is so corrupt. It has been corrupt since its beginning. That party has been around for over 200 years, and they, from the very first, have been the party of the rich, the party that manipulates the news, that tells little lies that are believed by poor working slobs who just want to feed their family and have a better job, have a better life. They fill them full of nonsense to get their candidates elected every 2 or 4 years, and they deliver nothing. Maybe a few peanuts are thrown to the animals in the zoo, but they serve the elite. Not only the US elite, which was bad enough, but now it's globalist elite. They are the ones that have been printing boatloads of money and shipping it off to the rest of the world, calling that progress. Making the world dependent on the US dollar like a drug. And that's effectively what we've done. And what we're going to be going through now is a choice. You can get off that drug without killing yourself or the world. Go into a recovery program, as it were. Or you kill everybody that's addicted to the drug. That's happening. Countries are running out of dollars. The Fed isn't printing more dollars. Everybody's saying, oh, we need more dollars. Put more dollars in the system so we can refinance our debts and kick the can down the road again. And for once, the Fed is pushing back. I think some people who thought they knew what the game was are finally realizing that they've been played. They are the smartest tools in the shed. And that's happening all up and down the hierarchy of this globalist mess that we've built up. Folks are realizing in all levels of this oligarchy of beautiful people that think they know what's going on, they've been played. They've been played for fools. They've been sold nonsense like modern monetary theory, thinking that you can just print your way out of any problem, pass a bill, spend a few more $1 trillion, and poof, everything's happy again. Sorry, that doesn't work forever. You can't keep kicking that can down the road. It'll eventually destroy our planet, our civilization, our species. And that's what the hyper elite want. They want to develop technologies that will basically make the mass of humanity unnecessary, so that they can have plausible deniability when they go down in their bunkers or jet off to their space stations or their colonies on the moon or Mars and leave this planet behind when it's been sucked dry or it's hit by a cataclysm that they don't want to be part of helping clean up. And yes, those things happen. Major earthquakes happen. Major solar events happen that can be absolutely catastrophic. Asteroids, meteors can hit. There's all sorts of things that can and will happen. It's only a matter of time. We've dealt with all those before. I'm not going to say much more here because I don't want to steal my thunder from tomorrow's episode, but I do want to mention that you probably want to stay tuned for tomorrow. I haven't figured out what I'm going to call it yet, but you're going to learn things that you never imagined possible about the precession of the equinoxes and the zodiac. Till then, this is Rob Trump with the On This Hour. Like, share, subscribe, get involved if you like, donate a few dollars. I wouldn't be averse to having a little bit more wherewithal to spend on my family. Here in Indonesia, it's not a horrible place to live, but it's getting more expensive like the rest of the world. And we'll see where this leads us. Till then, happy karma. God bless. Karma bless. Oh, I love this music. Anyway, if you want to join me in calling Bill Gates bull goats, I think it's fitting. There's a reason why Baphomet is the satanic figure. Baphomet is the goat god, if you know anything about Satanism. It's the dark side of the age of Aries, which we'll be talking about more tomorrow. Cheers.